Have you ever heard of a king who was so wise, so smart, and so close to God that even people from faraway lands traveled across deserts just to listen to him? This king's name was Solomon. He wasn't just rich, he wasn't just powerful. He was a king who had something far more valuable than gold, diamonds, or castles. He had wisdom. And today, we're going to dive into the exciting story of King Solomon, the boy who became a king, the king who became wise, and the man whose choices still teach us lessons thousands of years later. So sit tight, because this is going to be a journey of palaces, puzzles, and promises. Long ago, there lived a great king named David. Yes, the same David who fought Goliath with just a sling and a stone. David was brave, but he was also getting old. And like every king, he needed someone to rule after him. That someone was his son, Solomon. But Solomon was young. He wasn't a mighty warrior like his father. He wasn't a giant slayer. He was a boy who loved to learn, who loved to think, and who loved God. When King David passed away, Solomon sat on the throne. Can you imagine how scary that must have felt? He had to lead a whole nation of people make big decisions and keep peace in the land. And one night, something amazing happened. God appeared to Solomon in a dream. Ask for whatever you want me to give you. Now, most people, if they had one wish from God, might ask for riches, fame, or power. But not Solomon. Solomon thought carefully and said, "Lord, I am young, and I don't know how to lead. Please give me wisdom, so I can know right from wrong, and guide your people." God was so pleased with this answer that he gave Solomon not only wisdom, but also riches and honor. He would be remembered as the wisest king the world had ever known. One of the most famous stories about King Solomon starts with two women. They both lived in the same house, and they both had babies. But one night, something very sad happened. One of the babies died. The next morning, the two mothers argued. Each woman claimed the living baby was hers. They went to King Solomon. Imagine the courtroom, the two women shouting, the baby crying, the people watching. How would Solomon solve this? If he chose one woman, the other would be furious. If he chose the other, people might say he was unfair. Then Solomon did something shocking. He called for a sword, cut the living baby in two, give half to one mother and half to the other. Everyone gasped. Was this the wisdom of the great king? But then something happened. One woman shouted, "No, please don't kill the baby. Give him to her, just let him live." The other woman stayed silent. Solomon smiled. He gave the baby to the woman who begged for his life. Because she would rather lose her child than see him die, he said, she is the real mother. The crowd cheered. The story spread across the land. People whispered, "Our king is wise indeed." Now, Solomon wasn't just a king of wisdom, he was also a king of dreams. His father, David, always wanted to build a great temple for God, a place more beautiful than palaces, more sacred than mountains. But David never got the chance. So Solomon took on the task. He gathered workers, architects, and artists from all over. He brought in cedar wood from Lebanon, gold and silver from faraway lands, and the best craftsmen to decorate it. The temple took 7 years to build. Imagine 7 years of hammering, chiseling, carving, and polishing. And when it was finished, it glittered in the sunlight, covered in gold and filled with music and prayer. The temple wasn't just a building. It was a symbol of God's presence with his people. And Solomon stood before the altar and prayed, "Lord, may your eyes be on this temple day and night. May every prayer prayed here be heard in heaven." The people bowed, the trumpets played, and fire came down from heaven to show that God was pleased. It was a moment no one ever forgot. But Solomon's fame didn't stay in his own country. It reached deserts, rivers, and mountains. And one day, it reached a powerful queen far away, the Queen of Sheba. She was curious. Could there really be a king so wise, so rich, so full of understanding? She decided to test him. She traveled with a huge caravan, camels carrying spices, gold, and precious stones. She brought riddles and questions that would stump even the cleverest of men. When she arrived, she asked Solomon puzzle after puzzle, and every time Solomon answered with ease. But it wasn't just his answers that impressed her. It was his palace, his servants, the food on his table, the way his people respected him, and most of all, his devotion to God. The Queen of Sheba was amazed. She said, "Everything I heard about you was true, and even more. Praise be to God, who has put you on the throne to rule with justice and righteousness." She left gifts for Solomon, and in return, he gave her treasures beyond her imagination. By now, Solomon was not only wise, he was also the wealthiest king alive. The Bible says silver became so common in Jerusalem that it was almost worthless, like stones on the street. He had ships that brought in gold, exotic animals, and treasures from across the seas. His throne was made of ivory and covered with gold. Lions stood beside its steps. He had thousands of horses and chariots. But Solomon knew something important. Wisdom was greater than wealth. He even wrote books filled with sayings and proverbs to teach people how to live wisely. Some of his famous sayings include, "A gentle answer turns away anger, but harsh words stir up anger. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." These wise words are still remembered today, but even the wisest king was not perfect. As years went by, Solomon began to make mistakes. He married many wives from different nations, and some of them worshipped idols. Slowly, Solomon's heart began to turn from God. He built altars to false gods to please his wives. And though he was wise, he did not always follow his own wisdom. Because of this, God warned him that his kingdom would not stay strong forever. After Solomon, it would be divided. It was a sad ending for a king who had started with such promise.
Lessons from Solomon. So, what can we learn from King Solomon? 1. Wisdom is greater than riches. Solomon asked for wisdom, not gold, and God gave him both. When we value wisdom, other blessings often follow. 2. True wisdom is shown in love. Remember the story of the two mothers? The real mother was revealed by her love, not her words. 3. Even the wisest can make mistakes. Solomon had wisdom, but he didn't always use it. Wisdom isn't just about knowing, it's about doing what's right even when it's hard. And 4, God's presence is the greatest treasure. Solomon built a beautiful temple, but what mattered most was that God filled it with his glory. King Solomon was a boy who asked for wisdom, a king who solved mysteries, a builder of temples, and a writer of proverbs. He was wise, yes, but he was also human. His story teaches us that wisdom is not just about being smart. It's about loving God, loving others, and choosing what is right even when it's hard. And maybe the greatest wisdom of all is remembering that true riches are not found in gold or silver, but in a heart that listens to God. So the next time you face a big decision, remember the story of Solomon. You don't need a crown to be wise. You just need a listening heart. Thank you for joining today's adventure. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss the next amazing story. Until then, stay curious, stay kind, and keep shining like the stars above.